robot has threaded the needle and sewed. That degree of dexterity, to me, game over.
This is Alistdair Wilson-Gough. He is a futurist and global tax and restructuring expert. And we got to speak about the future of justice in the age of AI, the role of humans inside automated systems, and who holds the keys when intelligence becomes the most powerful asset on Earth.
Chinese population are collapsing. The younger generation are just switched off completely.
Where do you sit with China becoming the number one global power?
Never make it. Don't assume the technology will keep everything going as way it does.
If you just went back 2 or 3 of our lifetimes, everything we do today is a miracle.
It is the Matrix, in some regard, without being hysterical about it, but you have to make a decision. And hopefully with people that wake you up and do stuff for people that are awake.
Why?
Because the world has no choice.
Fundamentally, do you think humanity would be in a better place if we were to remove this technology today? The future says that there's a high possibility that the tax from those future big tech players will be needed for the universal income.
No question. No question at all. You have to. The context of this really have got to look at the printing of the Bible. You had an entire ecosystem of monks scribing for the Bible, and suddenly the printing press rose and it destroyed everything. Suddenly literacy went through the roof. The printing press brought out all sorts of means of communication in terms of pamphlets, leaflets, questioning society, and it was incredible. And this is what's happening right now. It is that profound. We're in a very analog world, and now all that's gone. And it's going to happen really fast because it's easy and it's fast in terms that people will have that sense of knowledge around them, which is not only as fact, but also interpretation. And that alters everything we know about ourselves. Plus, you put that in a robot, and they're coming really fast, and the whole world's gone from analog to digital in a heartbeat. And we have no concept what that really, really means. Now, what it means to government, who's got a tax, because where's the intellectual property? You don't have a factory anymore. Who's collecting the money and where? So a lot of work's going into digital taxation, because you need that tax revenue. So it's based on consumption, it's based on ads, it's based on the engagement with this medium, because suddenly you can produce anything anywhere, and therefore the nation state is itself under huge question.
Right. Because
we have acquired and are acquiring a huge load on expenditure. People don't die anymore. They live a very, very long time.
Yep.
And medicine is moving at incredible pace because of AI, because of ability to diagnose and to understand aging and understand illness. So all that's happening at the same time. So no children, living a very long time, and you've got to keep this show on the road, and how the hell do you do it? So so AI is done, it's baked in the system, but it's how you're going to tax it is the real challenge now.
Yeah, and the big question for me, right, is that these big tech companies, so let's assume, let's be hypothetical here. Yeah. Let's assume that we have a dozen huge companies, right, which are providing the AI globally. The US is one of those.
Yeah.
It decides to hike its tax up to be able to fund a universal income across the US. Right now, every time that's happened, these big tech companies are very agile, aren't they?
Yeah.
They don't stay in one place, particularly if it's got high tax.
Yeah, but that's when countries come together and work on a universal tax code.
Right.
So the old time for Dublin, were very clever at the double Dutch, or the double Irish as they had it, and then you had the 12.5% tax.
Right.
The world's woken up. And so there will be potentially a flat rate on corporation tax. So at least there's a basis point, but also there'll be tax based on consumption. And that'll happen where it happens, and they will be held accountable because the world has no choice. You can't have the time back of the 1900s, the robber barons, that built the railways and everything else in America. That it just is unsustainable. And so whilst we have a bullying policy by the states that says everything's got to be make great again, but at awful cost, which has been highly challenged now because of the tariffs are not legal in the sense of the Supreme Court.
Yep.
But nevertheless, we're in this train that we're going to tax everything. There's no choice.
Yep. But let's look at that, right? The only time I think that happens is when there is a catastrophic event that drives people to form an alliance to address it.
Yeah.
Until that point, are they not just going to be competing to retain that? So giving away any commercial, national kind of advantage they have for retaining that talent, retaining that company, retaining that income. And so I'd like to think that we can get there earlier than that.
I think we will. I think because basically what part of the value in an economy and a country is the people inside it. They're the consumers. And if you block the consumers, so saying, I'm sorry, you're going to have to pay to access our people. So the 70 million odd in the UK, there's a cost to engage with them. And the same with all across Europe and other nations. The problem for smaller countries, put that to one side, but you're going to have to work on that basis.
So that means that what you're doing there is a consumption-based model,
and
it gets taxed at the point of use.
Exactly,
At the point it's consumed, and it's locally taxed.
Yeah, and it's gross. It's on gross earnings, not on net. There's no clever accountancy. It's just you use it, there's a tax.
Yeah, the issue with that, right, is that, again, that you're then competing locally, okay, because what you want is, I want the UK to have the best access to the best tools.
Sure, of course.
So hiking the price of that actually becomes...
if everybody does it...
It throttles it, right?
If everybody does it...
But I'm dealing with the situation where before they get to that place, right?
Well, it's actually happening already. There's a lot of discussion. Okay. There's a lot of rules coming in. Look at Pillar 2. They're looking at this flat level of taxation. They're looking at consumption. People are well ahead of the curve on this. Yeah.
Okay, at a governmental,
this is fully governmental,
level.
Absolutely, yeah,
really,
and international, yeah.
That's interesting. Help me understand that. So when you say that, what do you mean when they're ahead of the curve?
They see the wind of change, and they understand that what we have now is unsustainable, because everything else is gone. You will come to. Let's boil this down. So, back in the small community, you used to have the blacksmith. What you'll have is a local 3D printer. So you break something, you want something, you'll send the code, it'll print it on that spot. The levels of complexity, who knows? That you will tax. Every transfer of code will get taxed. At the end of the day, AI is just code. It has attachments to it in terms of advertising, in terms of data analytics and all that goes with that. They will tax the transfer of code. And that's where people are now focusing, because they know we don't have the industrial base we used to have. We don't have the commercial base we used to have. So revenue's got to come from somewhere. You have no choice.
But yes, okay. So I understand that. But you think that governments are ahead of this. So you think they're forming alliances.
They're on it, definitely.
Right.
And there will come a sense of urgency as this darkens and deepens. Yeah.
So let's talk about this sovereign currency issue, right?
Yeah.
So what we're saying there is compute becomes a sovereign currency.
Yeah.
And what we're saying there is that, like, it's incredibly important, and this is ironic, I'm going to say this, right? But that we provide our own energy, which obviously we failed to do in many respects.
Yeah, absolutely appalling.
It's absolutely appalling, yeah. It's going to be as critical for us to provide our own compute, right? So thinking about the fact that compute is what powers AI, we're saying that it's going to power, and if you look at, it's going to power every device, everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're not in that game, it's a bit like giving your supply chain of your medical supplies to China.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You don't want to be in that position.
Definitely not. No.
So when we think about that, there's two ways of doing that, right? So it becomes a bit like Trump's tariffs there, doesn't it? It's like you're taxing the imported compute, right? And encouraging the growth and the supply of your own.
Yeah.
And I just see that. I see that as incredibly tricky to navigate, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And because of the race to deploy and to commercialize it. Because if you're not in the race, right, if you don't have the tech companies locally, you are then starting to have the import-export gap traditionally just grows, doesn't it? if you're not exporting any of this yourself.
Yeah.
So you could be in a place where if you win the AI race, you're exporting tremendous amounts of services. And if you lose, you're completely dependent on the import of them. Because the way I'm looking at that, right, is that if you've got these incredible models and these incredible capabilities, but they're all owned and delivered by US companies or by China, and we don't have anything as comparable locally.
I disagree.
Okay, good.
I think there's going to be efficiencies of scale.
Yep.
And so it's like sort of, I want a car. Now, do I want a top-of-the-range super-duper sports car? Or do you need a family car? So family car does exactly what you need to do. Gets from A to B. And you say, a lot of the extra whizzos on this that sort of make it brighter, smarter, whatever, we actually don't need. What we need, most of what we're doing is actually really, not middle of the road, but it's quite commonplace.
Yes.
The analytics, the thing, it's what we used to think of undreamt of power, which we now have in terms of computing and analytics, is pretty ordinary. You can get it on a laptop, you can get it on an Android, whatever you're using. And so what you're looking at the really top level, and I think like most things, the code will become more universal. And so it won't be in the sole prerogative of a big company. There's a lot of contestants in all of this space, and I think you're going to find more and more of that. So I don't think we're going to be in thraldom to a big company.
Yes.
I think there'll be a number of companies that want market share, and we'll bid and work with those. But what you need, the top level for the severe analytics, for quantum computing, for advanced medical research, that's the top tier stuff.
That's on the basis, though, isn't it, that the greatest demand for compute is to solve today's problems.
Yep.
And being a futurist, and I know you've got some pretty aggressive views on where the world's going, might actually its greatest demand be for fueling some of the more innovative, revolutionary experiences we're yet to think of.
I agree with you, but also because our ability to analyze has increased so highly, that actually I think it's more in reach on a common platform than actually having something that is really top level. The ability to compute in terms of computing is extraordinary. Speed, fast, depth, cross-examination of data, it's all there at really quite, dare I say it, in an ordinary format. It is in the prerogative of the average, by comparison, the car mode. Yeah, we will need the supercars, but in the day-to-day, I think we have that functionality coming in droves into this environment.
So you're absolutely right there, because I wrote on our new website that today, I was designing it, and actually I put AGI is here. Yeah. And the reason that isn't because of the models, it's because the intelligence of the models is able to power applications to a point today where it has general capability to automate autonomous execution. It has the ability to plan, think, execute, remember, do all of the things you need to do to be able to do 95% of knowledge work.
Functionalities.
Today.
I mean, one of the recent postcards was a robot has picked up a needle and a thread, threaded the needle and sewed. To me, game over. That degree of dexterity, it's like crossing the Rubicon. It's just done now. It's baked in the system.
Yes. Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? I always look at parallels. So I look at the level of the robotic technology that we're using to do like surgery. Yeah. So we're using robots for surgery.
Absolutely.
The moment that cost of that becomes, the whole bell curve of costs diminish, it becomes an accessible technology in humanoid robots. That precision level of capability is abundant, then it does absolutely change everything.
It recapitalizes the local economy. And by that, I mean, how do you function in your locality? What we've done, we've had to go to the big hospital for treatment. We've had to go somewhere for excellence or the complicated stuff. That'll all swing back.
Yes.
And that is an interesting thought, because then you think, okay, as I said before, the idea of the local blacksmith being a 3D printer, the cottage hospital, which was a great innovation back in Victorian times in the UK, suddenly that is empowered with a level of ability that we couldn't even consider. And then this is transformative in terms of you can actually live locally and have the full power of everything.
Do you think that this will erode China's human capital advantage for manufacturing? Will manufacturing be relocalized?
I think it's already lost it already. Chinese population levels are collapsing. You have the lie flat movement and let it rot. The younger generation are just switched off completely. And, if I was a Chinese kid now, I've got my parents, this is one child policy, I've got my parents on my shoulders, and then I have their parents on my shoulders too. It's an unsustainable model. And so it's collapsing already. So I think the image of China as being this great sort of production-based take over the world, yes, it's still going to drag on for a while, but there's a massive disengagement.
It's really interesting. Someone said to me the other day that if you look at all of the previous presidents in the US prior to Trump, they're all lawyers.
Yeah.
If you look at all of the leaders of China, they've all been engineers.
Yeah.
Which actually also talks about, the very different approach they've taken.
It's a command economy. So you can build the maglev which they've done. I mean, incredibly impressive. And just do it. No rules, no regulations, just do the damn thing. No environmental controls, nothing. Just knock it out from A to B. But you look at what's it's actually servicing, what's inside these economies, those local authorities. It's in a really bad state. Very low literacy levels in certain parts of China. And aging demographics, really awful in some parts of the world there.
So where do you sit with China becoming the number one global power?
Never make it. It doesn't have enough middle class.
Why is middle class important in a world of AI and technology?
Consumption. You need to be able to want to have and pay for the things that we all take for granted. Once you've got your basic structure, then it's your holidays. It's the replacement of goods. It's the travel. That takes money. That's out of the local economy. Can't see it happening.
Are they not exporting that technology to generate that wealth?
Yes, but not enough.
Right. Yeah, because it's really interesting. If you look at the number of scientific papers that China now produces based in the US, it's like 5 or 6 times annually more scientific papers. Like, it's incredible the way that they're innovating scientific research, technology research. So they are going to lead that at some point. I can't believe that they are not going to lead on a majority of kind of scientific and technology different streams.
Science, absolutely. On that side, that I agree with. But in terms of your day-to-day consumption that props up a local economy, that I question highly.
And you believe that will continue to underpin the strength of their nation?
I don't think it's that strong. It's a command economy, don't forget.
Yes.
And so the government says do that, they do that, whatever that may be. But actually, fundamentally, I don't think that economy is in a very good state.
Well, I know you also don't have a great outlook for the US either, do you?
No, I don't. No.
So tell me where you sit on that.
I've always admired America because it reinvents itself so fast and so often. And it's the image of the cowboy, innovator, entrepreneur, it's very strong. And they will burn and resurrect repeatedly. They're an incredible country. I have concerns about the amount of damage they've done to themselves in the last few years because of Trump's policies. Because a country represents by its capital, and soft capital is one of the most valuable assets we have.
What do you mean by soft capital?
It's trust. It's respect. It's rules of law. It's infrastructure in terms of its thinking. That's all trashed. So a number of people that said, I don't want to go to America. I feel nervous there. I don't feel comfortable there. Would I want to trade them or trade somewhere else? Probably somewhere else, because I know the rules are certain. You see, in a country, let's take Britain, for example, we talk about our capital. We forget to allow for is that if you put a building up, the building regs are exact and precise. They cannot be messed around with. Our codes, our rules about which we operate, and it's an immense amount of capital built up over generations. And you know that's hacked hard and fast. When you had that terrible earthquake in Turkey, transpired that, of course, the local rules didn't apply. A lot of buildings built without the recore, to bind the buildings together, they were hacking out steel beams, a whole lot clashed like a pack of cards. Same in China, when earthquakes back in time there. Concrete wasn't reinforced because there's nobody there. The rules didn't exist, or I can pay someone to flout the rules. You can't do it. So that rule, that soft capital is of immense value. And in terms geopolitically, You want to know that if I'm doing a deal with you, I can trust your deal. I can really base my economic model on that, rather than someone saying, oh, I'm putting a tariff on everything, and then realizing tariffs are lawful, therefore I'm putting another tariff on another code at 10%. Now I'm going to make it 15%. How do you work with someone like that? You can't, because you've got your own supply chains, you've got your own model to do. And so it's trashed a lot of that soft power that America had. And how it comes out of it, I don't know.
So you're saying that this kind of polarization, the current leadership, the transition that it's been through over the last however many years, more recent years, actually that's really destroying the values of their culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we know, if we look at a business, I mean, the game over.
Mm-hmm. It's done.
You are game over.
Yeah.
Your business is going absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
And I always like to kind of boil it down into more practical, meaningful, or understandable kind of ecosystems and examples. And that's what it comes down to, isn't it? So you're saying that the way, and we're all aware that they've trashed their values. I mean, I don't know if we spoke about this the other day, but Mark Carney's kind of
that
Davos speech
said all. Yeah. The middle range countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought that the way that he articulated the fact that the consequence of US's actions is rifling through everything state globally, aren't they? And that cannot work out well for the US. No. I'd argue it works out well globally, though, because having more robust independent nations means that we have more equitable alliances.
Absolutely. That I agree with. Yeah. America's become a bully. And like all bullies in the playground, they last for so long, and then somebody comes in and takes them out. And unfortunately, they made themselves very weak. But the American people are amazing. Yeah.
You like...
Entrepreneurial, go for it, do it. Yeah. Love that spirit. Yeah.
Yes. So they have the right people, they have the right assets. They've just got to channel it in the right way.
Exactly.
Perspective.
Yeah. The problem with America is they don't have passports. They think going to Italy is actually go to Disneyland and we'll go on a gondola for a bit. And I've been to Italy. Yeah. They're after the Second World War, Americans came back with a huge experience of the world. Different cultures. Yeah, it was a horrible war, but they saw different ways of living. And they came back with different appreciation of food and lifestyles, intermarried. They brought wives back. It was an incredible period. To a certain extent, the same in Nam, sort of fusion with the Vietnamese and the Philippines. And there was a massive cultural change and people coming in. That was a very dynamic period. But that's not applying anymore.
So what do you see the next steps? I mean, we were talking about Ray Dalio off of camera here earlier. And I think we're both fans of his work. And we both spoke about the precision in which he's predicted and forecasted this last 5 years. It's quite uncanny.
Yeah.
What do you see next steps on the global? What do you see the next steps on the global kind of platform?
In the short term, a lot depends on how America and Iran address this confrontation between them. And the problem is you've got two big battle fleets, and you don't commit that amount of presence and step down because you look weak if you do. So there's got to be something, either an incredible deal that Iran can't see accepting. So therefore, as a military strike, significant military strike, and what Iran do in response, Hamas, Hezbollah and the like, international terrorism, but also if they start trying to attack supporters in the Middle East of Israel, that destabilizes the Middle East, and that is a massive reason, a black swan event that would be really, really difficult to compute, to think about all the way through. But in a more medium to longer term sense, I think the speed of change is going to be huge. There's also climate migration. Look at Guy Vince's work on her seeing, or they're seeing rather, that the movement of people will continue at a pace. Water is becoming problematic, really problematic in certain areas. When I last looked at it, there are about 50 million empty properties in Europe, in the wider sense of the word, 50 million. So simplistically, that's 250,000 people. So then you've got extra land you can build on. So let's say you were going to lose, I don't know, multiply by 4. Because Europe is a place that offers stability. in terms of long-term law, long-term relationships. And fundamentally, in spite of hiccups and bumps, it will trade well with each other, including Britain through Exit, one way or the other. But I can see a lot of migration coming. And it's how you embrace that and still keep your cultural identity. And that's a huge, huge problem, as we're seeing here in the UK, but elsewhere in Europe as well. So there'll be that happening. And if you then come into what were previously remote rural areas, then it's a flying car. It's just a drone, basically, with people. And its restriction is based on the size of your bladder. I saw a paper, produced about 10 years ago by Uber, and they were looking at, over a station, you'd have another level of platform, flying cars there, they would interchange the batteries, and you'd go off to, I'm from North Wales. And so going home to North Wales, you'd go by train, normally very fast, but then I reached to a local station, Wrexham, Chester, something like that. Then it's a slow process with a taxi or a bus, whatever the situation might be. So you'd get there, but you have another drone to pick you up and just take you there. So suddenly everything shrinks and much more accessible. So again, it's skyways rather than highways. It's a different way to operate and live. And that way you're fully resourced. Then it becomes very interesting. So do you have the cultural depth and richness we get from someone like London in a microcosm in a local community? Then it becomes fascinating, the sustainability and how you live and work in that environment.
So you're talking about the distribution of services actually becomes has much more local reach into the
and it's cheap,
country.
Cheap. You look at projections on with AI and robotics in cars, when you don't have a driver, suddenly the price crashes.
Yeah. And that's what we're moving towards, isn't it? Is this abundance of products and services at a much lower cost of living.
Absolutely.
And that can only be good for the thing which I really think about a lot, right? And we talk about London a lot and the microcosms that we operate in. But actually, it's just the standard of living globally.
Yeah.
Right. And so it might take a while to reach some parts of this planet. But you've already said that the UK's got plenty of the population is underwater right now, the same as the US, Europe. And so by bringing those cost of goods and services down, we actually can raise the standard of living significantly, right?
I think we can. Also, what's interesting, you read the news and it tends to be very doom and gloom. What you don't pick up are the local number of community initiatives. People cleaning the streets, people helping each other. And so when you're not, so we want to go to your point about the minimum income. So what do you do with your time? How do you use your time? How do you engage? So it's a red pill, blue pill moment. So either you sit in front of a TV and go there, or actually get out and say, actually, I can do amazing things now. So I can support my local community. I can go and visit people. I can engage with social intercourse in terms of support and participation. And then you get to, well, what skills am I going to acquire? So do we move back to an artisan? So I want to get some furniture, have it 3D printed, or actually I'm going to make Paul down the road who's going to take some local timber and make a table for me because I value and cherish those. It's a very different economic model, but everything else is dealt with.
Yeah. Where do you sit on this? You've spoken about universal income there. Yeah. Where do you sit on this kind of position around people will lose purpose?
Absolutely. It's a real danger. You have to take a physical effort. It's like, I want to get fit. Well, you can't get fit by watching a video. I should go to the gym, I've got to sweat, I've got to do work. Yep. And people have to decide.
But let's come back to the point there. This is about the fact that they won't be working, so they'll lose purpose. And you think that's the case? Because I can't help but think that most people that go to work, I reckon 80 or 90% of the population that goes to work doesn't get a purpose from it.
You're right, yeah. But it even so, we still identify I am an X or a Y. That's what I do.
Right.
And it gives you some level of identity, some level of, if I speak to you, if you have a certain level of job or background, I know I can have a certain level of conversation with you, way of thinking. But so it validates. It may not be the best validation, it may not be the happiest validation, but it gives you a position.
But we adjust quickly, don't we? We do adjust
absolutely.
Really rapidly. Yeah. Like people are really happy to sit at home during COVID and get onto Zoom and wander around on the parks for an hour and and yes, it drove us nuts.
Yeah,
but
it did.
People adopted very different habits very, very quickly. I can't help but think that their needs, if they're receiving the same, let's just suggest they're receiving similar levels of income, or maybe less income, but services are less.
Yeah.
and supplied, much lower cost of living, but they get to spend their time doing different things. I'm now a YouTuber. I'm creating films. I'm doing other things.
Absolutely. Sure.
And so I just can't help but think that they'll then get that status, that need from doing stuff they love.
Yeah. I think that's right. It's but it will be challenging. It's this moment of change. It's like, the printing press has arrived. Same with, you can look at the riots over the mills back 200 years ago.
Let's look at that. I don't know enough about that. I know some about it.
Yeah.
There was obviously it was the period of change, which was most painful.
Yeah. It always is.
The impact later on.
Yeah.
How long, do you know how long that kind of period was of change? How long were those riots in mills and, that?
It's actually a relatively short period of time, probably about 10, 15 years or so before the new status system arrived. And you got used to, because the troops are pretty brutal in suppressing the riots. But it was a short period of time. I mean, in Britain, we had the Napoleonic Wars, which suddenly we had uniforms to make, we had underwear to make, it was transformative in terms, industry blossomed from that event. And so it was inevitable that you had to go to the mills to work because you just couldn't compete. And so that inevitability will come, and pretty fast,
You've mentioned that a few times, haven't you, which is the speed. You think this is going to happen much quicker.
Yeah. You see, in the past, we always think of a generation, 20 years. But the speed now, the universality of it, I tend to think in terms of 10, if not 5 years in some regard. It's so pervasive. It's everywhere.
Why do you think it's 5 to 10? What is it you're seeing that?
There's so many routes to consumption now. And because it's not geographically based, it's not based in terms of moving stuff by road or rail or whatever it may be. It's based on, everything's based on the internet. So the transfer of knowledge is so fast and it's so compelling. And everywhere you look, whether it's speaking to Fred in the pub or whether it's on a YouTube channel or whatever it happens to be, everybody's talking about it. It's in front of your face, so you're going to adopt it very quickly. And because that rapid adoption, the speed at which the capability increases is a multiple. I can't even compute what that might be. And it's everywhere. And so how people write, how they communicate, how you deal with all the processes, or you want to design something, you want to build something, you want to write a code, it's happening all around. And that transfer of knowledge everywhere. You didn't have to go as a printing press to go and actually buy the book. It's for free. It's on the phone. I'm doodling and suddenly I've seen some code being written. And the code's right in the code.
So it's the accessibility.
Accessibility, for nothing. Pennies.
A lot of people have a different opinion to that. Yesterday I spoke to a guy who said to me, it's going to take much longer than everyone thinks. Change is painful. Adoption always takes much longer.
Sure.
I can't help but think that the accessibility, the speed of innovation is very different this time.
I get his perspective, but I think it underestimates the universality of access to knowledge. And it's multilingual. There's no barriers, class, religion, linguistically, none of it exists. Anybody can access information for nothing.
It is an interesting point, isn't it? I think people are underestimating the disruption of it and the speed as well. Because the way I look at it, if I put it in practical terms, I just think to myself, the person that comes out with the fact that their model, let's just say, would it surprise you if someone come out and goes, OpenAI's now got an AI lawyer?
No.
And it's highly, highly accurate. Wouldn't surprise me.
I was at a conference the other day with leading chambers in the city, and the case in charge of the chambers ran a question through AI. It was 95% correct. 5% detail of one particular tax law was missed, but was implied. And so
we're almost there.
We're there effectively. What you need is the human being to sign it off.
And so let's just think about the disruption of that. Let's just think about the fact that one service gets to a place where you're saying it's a 95%. You actually went through this with a council, legal counsel, and it was 5% out, and that 5% was grey area. You could have got away with it.
Possibly,
implied.
yeah.
So we're in let's suggest we're in the last 5%.
Yeah.
Let's give that 2 years.
Yeah.
I think that doesn't seem like
give it less than that.
There you go. Yeah.
6 months.
I do as well. So what's the disruption to that sector by having that?
That's a very interesting question, because we are a service-based economy, and service-based on understanding nuance and understanding you're interpreting. But if you have access to all knowledge and takes in interpretation into that, then you're coming down to rulings. Then that's a huge question mark in terms of where your worth is being created in terms of that service to other people. Now, in terms of saying, I need for my own protection to have a lawyer, a barrister, an accountant, a skilled person, a quantity surveyor, whatever it may be, actually physically signing it off under their PI cover, because they have to accept responsibility.
Yep.
Because, AI dreams, AI makes mistakes, and tiny mistakes can be fatal in a situation like that. But, so on one level, it'll increase efficiency. So in other words, it makes it much more accessible. So instead of a person on the street saying, I can never afford a barrister, suddenly the barrister could take on more work, their price goes down because they're handling more cases, their income stays the same. We hope that's going to be the way that'll settle out. Same with quantity surveyors, same with everybody, that's a professional person.
Let's draw a comparison there. Mm-hmm. We're about to trust technology to drive us around in cars without drivers.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been in one, yeah.
Absolutely. In a Waymo? In one of the Waymos? Or
no, it wasn't in the States. It was a Tesla.
Okay.
It drove itself on the highway.
Amazing.
And my friend had his daughters in the back who screamed. And then within minutes said, I just got on playing with her. And they accepted it as normal.
Yeah, incredible. So we acknowledge that is happening.
Yeah.
We're in the transition. Yeah. We're seeing them deployed.
Yeah.
I can't help but think that means at some point, quite soon, that we would have an AI lawyer that is more accurate than the guys that we've currently got signing it off.
Sure. Yeah.
Because if we're trusting it to drive the roads and deal with all of those real-time instant, that's real-time interactions here, right?
Yeah.
What we're talking about with a legal case or a legal document is it has time to reason.
Yeah.
It can go out, it can fetch examples, it can look at all different case law, it can process, it can, it can reason with all of that data and come up with a very well reasoned. It can take a few hours, even a day if it wanted, right? To process all of that. It's got access to huge amounts of data to really get to, I think. I just cannot see a place where that does not do a better job than a current lawyer compared to, in the same way that a self-driving car will not have less accidents than humans driving cars.
It comes off, at the end of the day, someone's got to sign it off. Someone has to take responsibility.
Why can I not take responsibility for that?
You're relying upon an entity that cannot validate itself to yourself. Because
isn't that the consumer decision?
Absolutely, of course it is. However, where I sit in this, I would always want, if I'm building a house, I want a QS to actually sign it off. I want my doctor to sign it off, because ultimately I need to know that somebody takes responsibility. And you will find people that said, I don't care. Of course you do. But
I think that's going to be, I think that's 80% of legal work.
Yeah.
90% of legal
work.
I
don't know about that. I mean, I think that legal against legal, you want someone to take responsibility. Anything contextual?
Be honest, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're able to say this.
I am completely honest. But ask the question. I love it.
Actually, it's a good point, which is, how many legal counsels you sit across the way from different barristers are you impressed with? What percentage of them?
Most of them, actually. When I'm dealing with a barrister, most. Because I know the effort they've gone to, and I see their analysis.
Okay.
Some I think they can walk on water, which invariably they can't, but that's rare. Yeah.
Right.
Mostly really well reasoned, thought through, analytical. Yeah. Yeah, they're the best of the best. And the same with really good lawyers. You can understand the application of knowledge and the reasoning that's gone there.
And how much of it comes down to their ability to influence their audience, and how much of it comes down to material, factual data?
Well, in court, of course, when you go to court, which is I thought a bit of a disaster, but if you reach that point, you have to present the information in the right way. So to whatever the audience is, whether it's a lawyer to lawyer or whether it's any of the skill sets, you have to be able to present it and explain it and argue it. And that is the test for all of this.
I'm thinking about it now, right? Which is, let's suggest that actually that court could get to a place where it says, I'm not interested in spending time with you barristers.
Yeah.
You've got to use our British AI lawyer counsel, which will assess the case between your agent, barrister, which you've got an agent barrister. I've got an agent barrister. They're both approved by the British Law Society. And they're going to battle it out and they're going to give me a set of facts and a much more detailed analysis. So if we think about something more like the assessment of radiology, where we're able to have a scientific approach, does that take the objectivity of law out the fucking window?
Let's go back to radiologist, because ultimately, yes, you're right, the AI systems tracking any sense of cancer presence in terms of fractures, in terms of tumors, they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But you need to be signed off. Ultimately, there has to be a responsibility. And also, we're coming down to a human equation here. Going back to law, that the judge will make a ruling based on fact and circumstance, but also what they see in front of them. They will make a judgment call based on not just the facts of law, but fact of circumstance. And circumstance is difficult to lay down in terms of a precise number of dots or steps. That's a skill in terms of how do you read a person. And that's what the judge brings, the reading of the person. It's that soft skill.
It is, isn't it? But this is a really fascinating topic. I haven't spent as much time with this before, and it's great. But let's go back to the root cause here, right? So the first step of this is that I need to trust the data that is being provided. Right? So that's the core issue, isn't it? So is this barrister, lawyer, one party versus another, let's say, is the data that they're presenting true?
Because that rests on, well, it depends on the instruction they're given. So the instruction is the real key here, that it summarizes and presents everything about the case. And it evidences, so you have a bundle of all the documentation, which is independently assessed to say, yeah, this is 99% true reflection of fact and circumstance, whatever it may be.
And so AI is going to be better at that. There's no doubt that AI in the future will be better at going through that pack and analysing
except for the fact
and identifying the nuances.
Yes, it can do that, except for the fact you will ultimately are going to be judged on a human-to-human basis.
Why?
Because it's the only way we have of having the soft aspect of life brought into the equation of hard fact. And all our lives rest upon soft interpretation. So I'm seeing you, and I'm reading you as you're reading me in nuances and tonality and body language and looking at your circumstance. So am I saying to myself, yeah, there is a transgression here or an issue, but I think on the evidence based on the wider whole that I can give that person a chance to actually transform their lives or take a different course going forward. And that is important. Otherwise, if you're dealing in concrete, so you're saying the AI judge has taken all the rules and put on a rule-based system to say black and white. We know in life there's a lot of grey, and often the interpretation of grey and working with grey is transformative in a positive way. Sometimes negative, but generally positive. It's about giving people the opportunity to move forward with their lives. And that's important.
Yeah, I can't help but think that what we're talking about there is the sentiment, isn't it, of the human sentiment of the case.
Yeah.
Doesn't that just determine the kind of consequence of it, the outcome in terms of how it's dealt with? Because I don't know, if I look at a legal case, I just go, look, we've got one opinion here, one opinion there. Which one of these is a matter of fact?
Well, you know,
against the law.
You know they're going to all have the facts Because if the barrister in this instance comes forward, but actually I want to say in the wider context, in any situation, the QS, the quantity surveyor, they're going to have the facts. It's how those facts are seen in the context of case law, case of experience, because that's what you're doing. You're looking at probability and applicability of that situation in a human context. But ultimately, that's what needs to be able to happen. We need the human being to be protected, but also governed in the right way. What I don't want is an AI judge in a draconian sense. Okay, let's pull this right back. Part of the problem we face is that we are, as human beings, incredibly destructive. We kill each other, we maim each other, we go to war with each other, we're poisoning our planet, we do all sorts of stuff. Now, if you were a child, as we have a little baby or whatever it may be, you say, oh, don't go near the fire because you burn your hand, or step back the road because the car's coming. Would AI therefore constrict our lives and said, you're children. We're not going to allow you to do certain things. We're going to disengage you from certain abilities because your behavior is so aberrant. And our entire history is based on that aberrant behavior. So that's the real issue here. Is AI all controlling, as with your judge, that said, I'm not going to let you do that? And how far does this, a bit like wokeism, how far do you get down the road in terms of this? So certain parts of the world, you can't drive 50, it has to be at 30, or it has to be at 20. Some of the madness has been on long country roads, it has to be 20. We become more and more controlled. Or we're not going to let you do this because it's bad for you. Now, some people want to do stuff, and say, I want to go climbing. I used to do a lot of climbing. Oh, you can't because you might hurt yourself. But I want to. Oh, you can't. I'm not going to let your car take you there. I'm not going to give you access. That park is now under lock and key system. I won't give you permission to do that. Where does that stop? So take your AI judge. So what actually is this judge doing? Because if it's doing that thing, then what else would it do? And then how much more will it curtail lives? Because we're based on risk. We're based on doing really stupid stuff. Because it's funny, like cheese rolling down a hill in a certain part of the West Country. Will it stop that being able to be done? That's the real problem. So we need the human element in this. And certainly there's a lot of debate going about protection of humans from AI. I know there's a very good, I can't remember its name now, the committee report they're working on now in terms of AI control in the UK. We need to be able to expose ourselves to risk. We need to be able to, as human beings, flourish or be damaged or threatened by the world we're in. Otherwise, we can't participate.
Yeah. Isn't it technology that's putting a kind of lens over that risk, though? Do you know what I mean? And it's exposing the fragility of humans' decision-making, of thought process, of bias, of objectivity. And so I can't help but see, right, that you take the judge, he currently receives 2 bundles of information, shitloads of data, right? He's sitting there, he's reading it, he's making his notes. Okay. At what point if I look at the kind of iterative reality, right? So we get to that end place by taking small steps. If the first thing that's going to happen, right, is at some point, someone's going to go, oh, you know those bundles you're reading, you don't do that anymore. Just like the radiologist. You don't sit there and look through this for a couple of hours and under a microscope. We now give you an analysis of it. You read the analysis. This is what the analysis is. It's going to encourage you to look at just this bit and this bit, not the whole scan. Yeah,
you see, I disagree.
Okay.
Because you will still want to use your professionalism to say, double check it. And everything's about double checking.
So I agree with that. I'm not saying the outcome. I'm not saying the final outcome, right? But where does it stop? So do you think that AI will get to a place, let's say over the next 5 years, right? I think it will get there quicker. But let's say next 5, where the law societies will have an AI that is approved that is better at analysing those bundles and providing a report, assessment, analysis than a judge reading them manually?
It has to be a yes and no answer because, again, it's a technology and it's only as good as those that interface with that technology. And you will need that human interface because we're human beings. We're not drones. We're not robots.
So I'm not looking at it for the outcome, but I'm looking for it to, instead of me reading it and assessing it and giving me the assessment.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
You think there's a chance that humans will still be asked to do that and AI won't take over that analysis piece?
AI will do it, but we will put that to one side.
So that's where I'm going with it, right? The judge would use it to do the analysis and give him an overarching report. Yeah. And with that, he would then start to form his opinions.
Yeah.
Do you think that will happen?
I think that will. I mean, because, already most cases rest on case law. Yep. So the fact and circumstance in the case law, and machine will be double checking the case law and what's in the case law to substantiate or challenge, or whether it's been rightly or wrongly applied. Of course it will. That's a tool. But fundamentally, you then come back to, that's a screening of information, but it's not determination of that information.
No. So determining the result would come down to the judge.
Exactly. And what you're doing is having a form of analytics to validate the information before the judge or the person may be, like with a screen on the radiologist. So say, I'm going to just double check this. I want to see, and so he becomes more efficient in terms of time, and some of the mistakes will be lost. So it becomes a higher level of accuracy.
At what point is the radiologist replaced?
Never.
Why is that?
Because you need the human to sign it off.
I just don't understand that. So let's assume that the intelligence Do you think that the intelligence will surpass humans?
Of course, it's already happened.
Yeah. So why do we need a human to sign it off then?
Because it makes mistakes.
Well, so do humans.
Robots dream.
So do humans, right?
Yeah, but therefore, of course we do. That's why you're removing out some of the mistakes that people can make. We're hungover. Do I see that properly? I get all that. But actually, fundamentally, you need someone to sign it off, to say, that is applicable. Otherwise, if you surrender to the machine completely, let's say it's the kill switch analogy. We're worried about cars, Chinese cars, overhearing, or we're buying this technology as a kill switch. How do I know that the AI is completely and utterly pure? How do I know it's not contaminated? How do I know that those that have originated that AI have kill switches in? How do I know that the tumor detection rate is true or not? How do I know that the drug is true or not? How do I know that I'm protected and safe from kill switches?
We're holding ourselves accountable to the same bar that we are AI there, or AI to the same bar that we have.
Yeah.
And right now, I think there's so much manipulation in the system.
I think there is, and therefore the only way to handle that is this human interface.
Right.
There are very bad state actors out there, and there can be very manipulative corporate entities as well.
So, okay, let's just come back a step, right? And it's a really fascinating perspective, and time will tell how all this plays out, right?
Sure as hell will.
Yeah, it really will. But I just come back to so I always draw these parallels, okay? Yeah. But if we're leaving the decision making to self-driving cars, which there are going to be millions of, and they're all carrying humans, the risk of that is far greater. It's a real-time risk, right? If I do the radiology, right, okay, there's a risk that I've got that wrong, okay?
Or maliciously controlled.
Right. But that's the same with the cars.
Exactly the same thing, exactly. So do you have an override facility?
Yes.
Do you have, part of the conversation is that, you're worried about what's embedded inside a car. When I was last writing about, there's about 10,000 chips in a car. Are your conversations being listened to? Your commercial secrets, your family secrets, you're being listened to in the car, recorded. Well, you smile, but it's a very real concern.
I said 2 years ago, what the fuck are we doing letting millions of Chinese cars, which are basically surveillance, surveillance equipment on wheels, floating around UK, Europe, if China is such a risk. Why are we doing that? It's like the ultimate. I mean, my view was, let's send the spies home, guys. We've now got 2 million cars roaming around the UK. We've got more intelligence that we can deal with.
And more listening and more mapping and tracking. So that's why you need the human interface.
Yeah, so I agree with that. But what happens there is that people talk about being human in the loop.
Yeah.
Okay. I see it going to human on the loop.
Yeah, I do too.
Right. So what that means is that I'm not inspecting every radiology report. What I'm doing is I'm spot checking.
Yeah.
And I've got teams of people,
Yeah.
compliance teams, which are analysing
Yeah.
and picking out, one in every 2, 3, 4,
Sure.
5, looking for anomalies.
Yeah.
I've also got technology which is scanning that independent layers of technology, which is exactly how the infrastructure for cars work. And then that escalates, and bizarrely, I think it's Waymo have just got stitched up, haven't they? Because they're remote drivers that can take control of in the Philippines. Did you see that?
I did.
And so they're suggesting that Filipino drivers are not as good as the US drivers, which I'm not
sweet.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I agree. But anyway, so this human on the loop bit doesn't mean that there won't be anyone involved, but it's very different to having approval of each step of the task of the job. So there's a compliance which is surveying.
I would want to have person that I can look straight in the face and said, you did the diagnosis or whatever it may be, or the analyst or the ruling. I need to know that you own that. Okay,
that's your view.
Yeah.
That's because you're highly analytical, cautious, very wise.
Well, I don't know about that wise, but I mean,
but you are. You've got all of those. You've got all of those historics. I'm talking about 50% of the. All the new generations that are coming through, which tick. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Accept those terms and conditions. They've never ever thought about looking at the terms and conditions for 98% of the things they sign up for. So that's where I see those digitally native generations being far more accepting of the outcomes determined by systems.
They will do, and it's lazy thinking. I don't think we can afford to be lazy in our thoughts, and I think that's why you have to insist that there is a human being inside this.
Is this coming to your lie flat?
Yeah.
To help me understand that?
It's in China, the disengaging of the youth because they see no purpose. They can't achieve anything. They can't create wealth. As I said, because they've got too much responsibility on their shoulders. They don't have children. And also you end up spending 10 years being really top-notch at whatever subject you are at and end up trying being a delivery boy.
And you call that a lie flat culture?
Yeah, I mean, it's lie flat or let it rot. It just, we don't get anything. We can't benefit from this. It's a massive disengagement.
And that disengagement is disengaged from being proactive, having self-initiative.
Realize, I can never get a home. I'm just going to live at home with my parents.
Yes.
And I'm just, I can't aspire. I can't acquire. I'll never have the purchasing power to have the life that I was promised when I was probably my young teens. It never happened. It's gone. It's finished.
I can't help but think that AI is going to expedite that massively.
Will do.
Because people are deferring their decision-making to it, aren't they?
Yeah. But also, they're empowering, the dark factory that runs 24/7, just producing whatever that factory produces. It's... Go back to the streets of London, there's a news article about, back in about 1890, an argument that the amount of horsepower required to come in overnight to remove the dung on the streets brought the same amount of dung with it. So again, this incredible position where London would there was a very good article. It was the dung epidemic or something. It was very funny. But then suddenly, of course, the car came along. And so, first of all the jobs, the farriers, the cartwrights, the leather workers, that all went. So then we had the car came along. A very dear friend of mine, who's almost about 100 now, his first job had a bicycle with a carbide of acid on the back. He had to go around all the cars from his garage that he was working for to top the acid up in the battery. That was his job. Now, all that's gone. So we get a car nowadays, back in the day, you used to, what was the spark plug, the timing belt. You had a proper manual how to manage the car. Don't have any of it now. We're completely disengaged. Don't know lucky to know how to change a tire. Most people can't do that. And so now we're in this point of real disengagement physically. The physicality of life has gone. So rely upon supply systems, and that's a danger. AI is driving all of that.
Yeah. But let's talk about that, right? Because they are engaged with the digital ecosystem.
Yeah.
And would you not argue that having your kind of survival awareness, like survival skills, tactical skills, strategic skills, operational skills are going to be needed more so in a digital environment to thrive in the future over that of the physical world?
Well, that it depends how you define. I mean, can you gut a fish? Do you know how to light a fire? Do you know how to live with food? In other words, a bit of mold on a cheese, you cut it off and then eat it.
But isn't Alexa doing that?
Until it doesn't.
Well, yeah, that's a...
And also the wastage.
Until it doesn't, what do you mean?
Yeah. I mean, because we assume everything works so well. COVID.
Yes.
It was the end of the world. No, it wasn't. Supply chains came in. But there's a fragility to this, the same day deliverability.
Yeah.
And we're used to having strawberries all through the year until we don't. Don't assume the technology will keep everything going as way it does. So we do need to have that sense of how do we survive? Do we know how to do basic stuff? Because we'll need it. You cannot assume everything's going to be wonderful forever. As you've seen in Ukraine, it's a full-scale war with Russia, and people learning to live underground. They're learning to cook, learning to do other things that they hadn't done before. How to have dry foods, how to store, how to function in a purely analog world.
Do you think we've seen the Ukraine? I was reading some articles this week, which was about 5 people and how their lives had changed.
Yeah, read the same article.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting just to see how they had adapted to those circumstances. Yeah. What's really interesting is some of them feel like they've come alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people, I was privileged to meet a lot of people from the Second World War and the Vietnam War, and for some it was the most liberating and energizing period of their entire lives. They did things they never thought they were possible for themselves, their aspirations, their exposure to things. I mean, it had a horrendous price, but no, it was incredible. So, and so cometh the hour, cometh the man. We hope.
We hope, yeah. Yes, and your worry is though that the core primal instincts of humans are being eroded to the point where they won't be able to make that adjustment as if when called upon.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to think in terms of how you protect what's around you, in terms of what I do in taxation with families and entrepreneurs. How do you think in a way that I can preserve and protect wealth for those that are in these very challenging and opportunistic times? At the same time in that, I get a chance to listen to people's stories and across generations what they've gone through. One family, there's a little plaque in a small little village in Cyprus, and the Gestapo were there and mowed down most of the village, but one girl survived because a Gestapo officer just took pity on that one girl, and she's the mother of the people I look after. And there's a real story. The world can be a very brutal place if it gets out of control. America, one guy monitoring ice took 10 rounds in his back on the floor. And so we have to be aware of danger and threat. We can't assume everything's going to be hunky-dory. So you need to be skilled up.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, this polarized world that we're living in, we're well aware of what's happening in or outside of Iran right now.
Yeah, sure.
As the military piles up.
And the bargaining chips and how you step back from that.
Yes.
And bits of very expensive metal running in the wrong place alter everything.
When we talk about time frames, it sounds, when I've read about through your work, which is absolutely brilliant, everyone should do it, it does talk about, you're a techno optimist in many respects.
Yeah.
So you believe that we will get to a good place.
I do.
With technology.
Yeah. We've got to stay alert, but our lives are transformed in a way our parents could never imagine, let alone our grandparents. There was when I was studying, there was a very cute point which is saying that a man born in, I think it was about 1820, was more attuned to back to the time of Julius Caesar than he was to experience of his own great-grandchildren.
Help me understand that.
So In 1820,
Yep.
the world had changed so little from the time of Julius Caesar,
Right.
compared to the world that his great-grandchildren would see. Technology, ability, access, standard of living, education, lifestyle, transformed out of all recognition. I remember my grandfather seeing the first man land on the moon, and that time he'd been telling me about falling off a bone shaker bicycle, cutting his knee open, and a local tramp bandages it with a kerchief that turned red. And that was a little boy listening to the story. That from a bone shaker bicycle to landing on the moon. Amazing. Incredible.
Yeah.
And that speed of transition is shortening and shortening.
It's really interesting, isn't it? If you just went back 2 or 3 of our lifetimes, everything we do today is a miracle.
Absolutely incredible. Amazing. We're gifted beyond any recognition. And that gift has opportunity and responsibility. Guard your freedoms jealously. Guard your ability to be human jealously. Engage with technology with joy and care. Don't let it disrobe your ability. Let it enhance your ability. With resource comes responsibility and opportunity.
Well, when we think about this, you talk about the opportunity, right? And I can't help but see that the opportunity and the problems are going to coexist.
Always have done.
Yes.
Always have done. Yeah.
And I think there will be an underlying improvement in many, many services.
Huge.
Medical, health, etc., like you said, for everybody. But this kind of cognitive offload, as someone referred to it the other day, where people are just offloading their cognitive thoughts and thinking to LLMs, rather than using it as a tool to increase their cognitive capabilities, is a real risk to those, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That fall that trap. Number of people, someone was telling me, I think Matt was working with me, and said that he's aware of someone now which has got a really extensive relationship with a bot, an AI, and talking to it, and has formed an incredibly unhealthy relationship with it. Has really cognitively offloaded, but also emotionally offloaded and even connected. And that's going to be a whole new world. I think if we thought we had problems with social media, the impact I think that has on society, there's going to be winners which work out this is a tool, and there are others that end up realizing that they end up as a slave to it. Do you see the same way?
Yes, absolutely. I saw this Christmas there were adverts for robotic dogs. So you charge the dog and it yaps and jumps around, but there's no vet, there's no food, there's no cleaning up of feces and urine and all that. There's no engagement with a real animal. But I've got a dog, and I see same thing with, particularly in the Far East, people who will never have a sex partner, don't know how to engage, live at home based on food deliveries. And that is a red pill, blue pill moment. You have to choose. Do you engage with life in its rawness, or do you live in a cocoon? There's a real danger, absolutely,
Where do you think we are on that path right now? So how far down the path are we?
I think quite far. It's the ability to aspire. It's the ability to engage with risk. It's the ability to get cold, get hot. In other words, accepting discomfort, being scared or not. And that's a life skill. And you either taught it at school or with your friends you're with. You go and climb as we did, or do other stupid stuff, or you don't. And that's my concern about too many controls around people, making it difficult to do things. But I think it's happening already, and there are people unwittingly on that slippery slope down, and they had all sorts of problems with it.
That slippery slope is being defined more and more often now as a singularity, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that singularity, I kind of try to get my head around that. But really, I've just boiled it down to the fact that we're in something we can't stop.
Yeah, that's done. It's baked in the system.
Yes. And we're in that. That's the issue here, isn't it? So I guess, in some respects, you only need to be as far down the path as that point has started, really. Because it then becomes inevitable. stopping it is very, very difficult. And if we're already past the point of no return, it cannot be stopped. The evolution will just pick up speed.
Yeah.
We will not be able to live without the innovation.
Yeah.
What that really means is that this concept of you're more vulnerable without it than you are with it to our colleagues on the rest of the planet.
Yeah. I mean, do I want access to modern medicine and therapeutics? Absolutely 100%. Do I want access to being warm and secure? 100%. Access to affordable food? 100%. But at the same time, you have to deliberately step outside that to experience and see life in the raw. And I cycle to work every day, and I try and cycle all year round in shorts. So my body needs to get cold. I need to exercise. I need to stress the body. Otherwise, calcium gets robbed from bone, muscle mass deteriorates, and I'm in a cocoon. Very appealing, very attractive, but it kills you. You have to make a conscious decision. Yeah. You've got to use the tool and the equipment as a resource, not as a dependency.
Our ability to effectively control it, though, if we're in this singularity, if we're in a place of continual innovation, and we've already seen that the majority of people are offloading cognitive responsibility to it, okay, that only increases as the intelligence becomes more powerful.
Yep.
Right? There's no doubt about that. And so it means that its ability to influence and control us just grows rapidly, significantly over time.
Sure.
Which is worrying, really. Yeah, it's really worrying. And I think you have to believe in the fact that medicine, cost of goods and services can come down. But fundamentally, there are going to be swathes of global population which are going to be materially, psychologically, and physically, I guess, completely influenced and controlled by it.
Yeah. It is the Matrix, in some regard, without being hysterical about it. But you have to make a decision. And hopefully with people that wake you up and do stuff for people that are awake. And it's risk and it's engaging with life or not. And both have their own rabbit holes.
When you think about this, I love talking about these things because I like to think about the impact of compounding technologies, right? That's what we're really doing. We're predicting what's the impact of all the things that are going on in life right now and where does it lead to. Is there a particular sci-fi movie that you think we're heading towards? I should have asked you to think about this before you came here.
Back in the day, I lived with the Bedouin in a very remote area of Saudi Arabia, as it then was. And so I'm drawn to the film Dune. So that mix of technology, but actually learning to master the desert. That, I can think of other things, but actually that film gives that real differential of living in extreme environments, but also amazing technology. With the spice laws and everything else that went with it. That to me is how I look at it. Yeah.
That's an interesting kind of philosophical lens. So actually continuing to do hard stuff physically, environmentally, whilst also leveraging technology. Yeah, profound view.
We need it. Really, really need it. Yeah. Go out and get thirsty. Get tired. Hurt. Yeah.
There's an opportunity to really capitalize on this, isn't there? Because one thing is that if we do move, and I think you've said it's inevitable that we'll move to universal income.
I think so, yeah.
And so the one thing that does is if it's used correctly, we can actually encourage it to point people in the right direction.
Exactly.
Can't we? Which is health, support, physical activity, supporting others, social care. So actually giving people a sense of purpose in the right area. So aligning the remuneration that we give to people with some of the healthier activities that are required.
You see, the Chinese system is that if you don't cross the road in the right place, if you speed, you get credits withdrawn. and then your life collapses. You can't do things because it's deemed to be naughty. I think there's another way of doing that. To say, actually, we're going to give you extra points if you go with John and Mary on a solo trek across northern Scotland, camping out, learning to gut, learn to cook, learn to make. That gives you some brownie points. I think it's a different, that I agree with completely. It's like some of the health insurance, the insurance premium is lower if you show you're a member of a gym and they see they actually gone to the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can entice and encourage.
Yeah, it's really complex, isn't it? Really complex.
Really?
Yeah. It's really complex.
Yeah.
But you can reward people in simple ways. I think that, getting slightly more income if you work in the social, in a social care sector,
exactly,
in hospitality, in construction,
or if you step out and actually you volunteer or you do things that are of credit to the society around you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so actually, what we're talking about there is repurposing human capital, energy, people into just more positive initiatives.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
Transfer knowledge, transfer experience.
Would it be incredible if that ends up becoming the entrepreneurial community?
Yeah.
That what happens is that we provide almost like carbon credits, but credits to people to launch initiatives which are accepted as a positive contributor to society if you meet these criteria.
In the last postcard I did, which is From Bell to Bite, it was about AI. It was that last bit about perhaps they will discover our true purpose. If we're liberated, perhaps we will discover our true purpose. And that is interesting.
Yeah, that's not an insurmountable challenge. Like if we've done it with carbon credits as an example,
exactly.
That model can be applied to lots of areas. It could be integrated with charity work. We've already got registration processes for charities. So we really have the infrastructure to pull these things together to create an economy, an environment that drives the right behavior.
Yeah, indeed. It can be very transformative. Yeah. Planting trees, cleaning roads, or mending stuff, because you want your environment to be nice, and then you earn credits for that.
The issue we've got is that, and I always end up referencing the same thing, so anyone that's listened to more than 2 of these podcasts will be like, for fuck's sake, Ezra, shut up. But is this conversation I had with Ben Warner, which talks about, he's the ex-chief data scientist for Boris Johnson in the government. And what he talks about, the fact is that there are amazing people in the government. But right now he can almost 100% be certain that there'll be not one single person dedicated to understanding the impact of AI on employment and the workforce. There'll be no single person. It'll be on people's agendas everywhere, but there won't be anyone actually assigned or to owning that.
I need to go back to my notes, but I think I'm going to disagree with that. Because there are study groups in the government that are looking at this very subject. I need to refresh my memory, but I've been reading some stuff recently saying that actually they're digging into this.
They're looking at, I know that they've, I spoke to Chris Summerfield, who's the head of research for British AI policy, UK AI policy. And so they've got some, and he's at one of the first 4, I think he's the 4th or 5th employee into Google DeepMind.
Wow.
So he's super smart. And that's why it's refreshing to know.
Yeah.
There are people which are really smart, very passionate about doing the right thing in government. The issue is the system works against anyone actually getting anything done. Which is
that is the problem. There's no sense of emergency, but also it's still a sort of lineal perception of governance. So they don't understand the speed of change, and actually it's fracturing all around them, and they don't have the skill sets to govern in that environment.
Yeah, and so the coming back to that point, which is, I'd be loved to see if you are aware of any actually dedicated teams, people to solving that issue, because it works back from that problem, doesn't it? You've got to work back from there. And how do we solve that?
Yeah. But ultimately, it's always commerce and the marketplace that rules. Most governance is trying to keep up with the pace of change, quite badly at times. So I think it'll happen of its own accord to a certain extent. They'll be forced to make change.
Yes.
There'll be no choice.
They're gonna. I mean, look. I think we're at 5.2 million unemployed right now. That's grown from, I think, 4.8 over the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah. I don't see that trend changing. Do you? For some time.
Unfortunately, no. I can't. I look at where the work's going to come from. Certainly, when the tax regime doesn't encourage, disables employment because of tax levels. And certainly I read somebody speaking in Scotland about, please don't raise my salary, but so lose my benefits. It's madness. All we need is an audit, a proper audit of where we are and how we engage in this new model now. It's good for caring for people, but when people remove themselves responsibility because they say, don't increase my salary, that's a point of madness. There's a lot of things out there that are clearly not functioning at all well, at a terrible cost to everybody in the country.
Yeah,
it's a big problem.
And that, again, comes to this kind of transformational period that we're in, and how the system is just being tested. Being stretched, not tested. It's not fit for purpose, is it?
No, it's not.
It needs to be rebooted, reset.
You need to audit.
Absolutely.
But agnostically, just is it fit for purpose? And look at what's the projections are doing the same thing. Debt levels, interest levels, productivity, it's all there. Look at numbers, always look at numbers.
Yeah. You are worried about the big crash, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Boy, that would sort everything. I mean, the dollar's not looking very good. And at that and the Black Swan event and a few other things, then we are so disengaged with the ability to deal with it.
Yes.
Yeah,
it is really fascinating, especially when you start to see some of the countries moving away from the US currency as their kind of...
Not just the currency, but also US assets. Don't trust it. It was going to happen anyway, but pre the current administration, it was a gradual change. It was but go back to Carney, as you said, he saw it spot on and spoke about it very well. Yeah. But we need time to adjust. And a shock is awful, as it might be. I mean, certain things Delalia writes about, I think,
One of the things I always end up saying is that it is an unbelievably fascinating time to be alive, isn't it?
Really? Unnoticed.
It's just, my big hope is that technology has a broad impact. It has an impact in a positive way to the people that want access to those services, etc. One of the things you and I spoke about, on a phone call was about, I think, is there going to be a boom in off-grid living? I think you thought there might be.
I think there will be. I think there definitely will be. But and engaged, you will choose the technology you want to have with you. But you talk of change, but a person born 1900s, the time they were 14, 15, they're at war. First World War, then you had the influenza epidemic that killed as many as the war. Then you had the Depression. So by the time you're 40, you're in another battle for World War II. And then by the time you come out of that, suddenly there's a period of peace. We've got Korea, the Vietnam, but basically that's one person's life experience. Now, I feel we're in the same sort of thing, but truncated. Hopefully not in global war, but huge forces at play here. So what took 60, 80 years, we'll now see happening in 40 or less.
And if you look at the period of time that we're talking about there, I guess you'd suggest that we're in the kind of 1930s to 35 slot right now.
Yeah, I think we are. Yeah. We're in that time of incredible economic restructuring. A depression in those days, of course, which took a war to get out of it.
Yes.
And we hope our governments will understand and smell the coffee of what's going on around us and actually re-engineer our societies to cope with this change, because it's irreversible. The
significance of that period of time is the fact that it was a depression, not a recession.
Yeah.
And it was the depression that then led to the restructuring.
Yeah. Whole world changed, and that's how it's changing now.
It feels very, very similar.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah. Huge challenges, huge opportunities.
Yeah, and like I say, just hope that those are far-reaching opportunities.
And they will be, inevitably. Yeah.
I kind of like that idea of this new economy of entrepreneurial opportunities in leveraging all of the available human capital in where everyone is incentivized to do stuff that has a positive contribution.
Yeah. There's a lot of good people out there, huge number of good people. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and that's it. There are so many.
And we underreport it. We don't advertise it. We don't broadcast it enough. The sheer value of ingenuity and good intention, good heart, good effort out there is legion.
It's never making the headlines, is it? That's for sure.
Doesn't. But this way you've got to read beneath the lines. Got to expose yourself to information side, like what you do here. Because it's putting ideas across. And it's not all right or wrong, but it's a good debate. It's great.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because we've had our challenges in London, and everyone's really slagging London off. And it does have its challenge. It needs a change of leadership. But it's still, at the end of the day, we're surrounded by, the best universities, the best airport infrastructure, transport links.
I mean,
some of the smartest people, most
breathtaking.
Breathtaking infrastructure and people that we've created. Yeah. It's just about, do we capitalize on that? Because the inertia of that will not continue without great leadership.
No, exactly. But like all things, you need to have a radical a sort of upheaval at times to let it all flourish.
Nigel Farage is the man for that. I'm joking.
Who knows? I mean, but certainly you need to have that debate out in the open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the key thing, isn't it? There's just too much individual people bashing that goes on instead of actually sitting around and just knocking our heads together and working out, how do we just navigate this? How do we get the smartest people in the room to navigate it?
Yeah.
Do you think that there's less collaboration because of the impact of social media? Does that make sense? Are people under more scrutiny? They've got less time to rectify and address their problems. That we're all in these truncated microcosms where there's so much pressure from people to act instantly, because if they don't, it'll be reported in social media and millions of people will respond. So there's this instant reactions.
Yeah, I think it's really bad.
Yeah,
really
we have
bad.
to deal with that.
Yeah. I think it's a huge waste of time and resource. So I would say to most people, disengage, doesn't achieve anything, doesn't help anything, because it's just she said, he said. It's just, so what? Yeah. It just proof the pudding, just get on and do stuff.
And it perpetuates, doesn't it? I think it comes from that, and it just perpetuates and perpetuates.
Yeah.
And then if the party leader is not seen to be addressing it at the same rate, with the same rigor, even though maybe that shouldn't be the,
We don't need sound bites. We need time to consider, time to reflect, time to make judgments, time to make calls.
Yeah. Who was it that got slagged off? I'm trying to remember who had... He was wearing 20 grand's worth of suits. It was from Savile Row, and certainly wasn't Boris Johnson for decent suits, was it? But it was another. It was another leader that had spent money. It was about 2 years ago, and maybe it was even Starmer had gone out and had some suits were gifted to him by a British tailor.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And they were worth 20 odd grand, and there was a massive outcry that he had done this. And someone said to me, don't we want our leader to look smart?
Exactly. Exactly.
Where's the logic in that?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so the point is that you lose sight of actually the fact that that's becoming an issue. It's got absolutely the fact that that's taking one atom of oxygen out of the room is a felony.
Exactly. Sad.
Yeah. We're spending time on that is just insane.
This way you've got to make judgments.
Yeah.
You've got to understand what's important, what's not important, and be very clear-sighted about it. Says he wearing a suit.
Great suits. You're looking very smart, sir.
Well, but, I have a lovely old tailor, trained in Savile Row. My suit cost me £2,000. Wow. It lasts me 10 years.
Wow.
So it's £200 a year, and costs maybe... I sponge it down, dry clean it, maybe 50. So my clothing cost is £250 a year. English wool, off an English farm, well, British farm actually. A British mill, made by a British cutter tailor. Yeah. My carbon footprint is sod all. And I like wearing a suit.
You look great. And it's interesting, actually, because you have got such forthright views and strong views, although open-minded views as well, on terms of where we're heading and the technology. Yeah. But there is an underlying, I know right now, if you hit the kill switch, you stand in the camp of doing that, don't you? From a tech perspective. Is that right? Have I got that right?
No. What I'm worried about somebody else having the kill switch. I think we have a kill switch of the soft K, where you actually actively disengage from it because you know it's beneficial to do so. That's a difference.
Right.
If you have a malicious state actor that shuts all the cars down because it has a kill switch, or shuts the system down, or the power system, or hacks, that to me is a kill switch. But in terms of saying, I want to light a fire tonight. I want to to gut a fish. I need to engage physically. That is a beneficial kill switch. You are not killing, but you're switching off from the comfort. You're switching off from everything's done for me.
Fundamentally, do you think humanity would be in a better place if we were to remove this technology today? We didn't go down this path. We reversed out of the singularity and switched it off.
I'd have to answer no.
Okay.
I think we need the technology. It's the way we need the steam engine. We needed all these things for our lives to grow and be more fruitful. It's just like all these things, you have to decide. Every technology has its good and its bad. We have immense good, but also immense bad in what we have unleashed now. And we have to think very carefully about it because it's out of the bottle.
Yeah.
And it could replace us. Let's be very clear about it.
I agree with that, because technology is the only answer to dealing with the rising crime and all of the medical issues and health issues that we've got. And so if you look at the core underlying pillars of society, oddly, technology is the only answer to remedy and to direct them into, well, not the only, but one of the main ways of redirecting them in the right direction.
Yes, but you need rules. Yep. You need to say, if you steal, you're arrested. If you attack, you're arrested. We need governance in our society around us. We cannot have a system whereby you get away with stuff because it kills and hurts other people. So we need the technology, but to be fully enmeshed in a system of rules which we have not abdicated from. We have to preserve and use that state of rule and law, otherwise everything goes mad.
Yes. Well, that's for sure. And in the world, I sat down with Ray Ital-Porter, the author of Governing the Machine, and that guy is absolutely on the money. He was talking about this 2.5 years ago around just AI is only as good as its governance.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's an initiative for companies, but also more importantly for a state and a global level.
Yeah, the nation state. Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been wonderful. I've really enjoyed it. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't normally do this, and I always forget to let people kind of say where they can be found. But I want people to see and find your website and read your postcards. They're awesome.
Thank you.
Where is it again?
www.50 as a number 50 international.com.
Great.
Little box, postcards, always less than 5, or always at about 500 words. Got to be really tight on not rambling on.
They are really compact.
That's very kind.
How long did they take you to write?
Yeah, about 4 years. No, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's it's always getting a twist in it, always getting some context. And but I like the challenge. Yeah.
I'm actually going to ask you another question.
Yeah.
Predictions. Right. So predictions, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years.
With or without a black swan event.
You got to factor it in or out.
If Iran goes badly, then the whole Middle East is in a whole world of pain, and the whole geopolitics and global economy is altered out of all recognition. Assuming that doesn't happen and it manages its way through, I see the speed of change quite dramatic in terms of robotics, driverless cars, flying cars, probably within 10 years, if not sooner. I see opportunity for reimagining how we live. I see repopulation of remote areas because of accessibility. If it's done well, that'd be fantastic. If America goes out of control and the dollar falls, then or weakens even further, I mean dramatically so, take Dalio's point, then we're in a whole world of pain. And that would be a period of readjustment that most people can't even contemplate. There's immense threats. But I would hope that we would be wise enough, calm enough to use the technology in a way that supports us through this change. It has that ability. The knowledge is there. We have in front of us all the knowledge in the world. If we can use it sanely and methodically and calmly, I think we can face almost anything. But we have to work with it in a fully conscious mode and really with a sense of joy, be serious about it. It's immense. The size of problems we face and the challenges are immense, but opportunities likewise. Sobering thought.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Bless you.